Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Chris once again with Indaba Africa coming to you to talk today about a question that I've been worrying about all morning and all weekend. Where is COVID-19? Where has the Wuhan coronavirus COVID-19 gone to? Well, it hasn't gone anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, but caught up in the midst of foment and chaos stoked by leftists and terrorists here in the United States. And with the easing of lockdowns in South Africa, people may be asking themselves seriously, where is COVID-19? Because you certainly don't see it in the news coverage. All the news coverage is about other events taking place, particularly in the United States, but also around the world. With many people still prisoners in their own homes as a consequence of mandatory lockdowns in much of the world, even here in Pennsylvania, we still have mandatory lockdowns for many people. With state, local, provincial, national governments forcing businesses to go out of business, to go into bankruptcy, with governments and police forces and militaries arresting people for the heinous crimes of sitting on a beach because social distancing is mandatory and necessary to flatten the curve and to prevent us all from dying from coronavirus, or arresting business owners to reopen their business while complying with the rules issued by the state of Texas, the salon owner in Dallas who was sent to jail in a punitive effort by an arrogant judge. All for social distancing, all to flatten the curve, all to help us. Here in Pennsylvania, we had a governor who called business owners and local officials at the county and city level cowards in the face of an enemy, hearkening to a concept of somehow that the virus is a war on humanity. This isn't the Black Plague, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't 1349. 75 million people have not died horrible, painful deaths from COVID-19. The point of this video is not to belittle or to diminish the impact of a highly infectious virus that has affected millions of people around the world, but is to put some sanity and reality in this. And the lies and the distortions told to us by totalitarian leaders from around the world, including here in the United States, but especially in the United States and South Africa, is simply proving to be untrue time and again. While we have the media calling peaceful, lawful assembly and protest here in the United States, including a protest recently in Harrisburg, the state capital, the media gleefully calling those people dangerous and criminals for violating the rules. Some of them were, many of them weren't, but lawful, peaceful protest attacked by the leftist media endlessly. While we have governors and mayors making capricious decisions, suddenly they're absent and silent in the face of unrest in the United States, in the aftermath of the horrific death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and the legitimate peaceful protest by many people, but even the peaceful protest, but more so the social violence and the nonsense and chaos undergoing the United States taking place right now. We see governors and police silent in the face of this. No discussion about social distancing, no talk about the need to flatten the curve as business owners are left to fend for themselves, beaten in the streets by thugs and bullies, reminiscent of brown shirts back in Nazi Germany. This is what we see each and every day. Where are these governors? Where are these mayors who've locked people down and forced them in social isolation, costing tens of millions of people their job? 39 million jobless claims here in the United States alone. In South Africa, people arrested for sitting on the beach. Yet today, with the lockdown easing in South Africa, people stood in massive queues to purchase alcohol. And now yet a new rule has been applied as government officials have warned that you are not permitted to stockpile alcohol. Yet a new sudden out of thin air rule created by the National Coronavirus Command Council, no doubt in South Africa, telling people they can purchase alcohol, but those who don't trust the government because the government has broken the bond of trust between the governed and the government. So people are standing in line lawfully, finally, after 60 plus days, to purchase, 67 days, I believe it is, to purchase alcohol, and now being told they can't stockpile. Well, what is stockpiling? Is that a case? If you're a family of 6, can you have a whole closet full of alcohol? This nonsense is ridiculous. Where is coronavirus? Where is COVID-19? Why aren't we being admonished? Why aren't people being arrested in the streets of Minneapolis, in DC, in Los Angeles, Atlanta, for violating social distance like they were just a few short weeks ago when people who were lawfully protesting and maintaining distance were criminalized? When a black man is grabbed on the streets of New York, thrown to the ground, and he was maintaining social distance, but an overzealous police officer came and attacked him and threw him to the ground and threw him in prison. This is not an attack on law enforcement. This is not an attack on government. But government needs to be honest. It needs to be consistent. The people who are out violating curfews, ludicrous curfews, for instance, in Minneapolis, they imposed a curfew and then withdrew the police and the National Guard. Didn't defend anybody. Didn't arrest anybody for violating the curfew. What was the point of it? No point whatsoever. Where is COVID-19? Well, it's still out there, ladies and gentlemen. If we truly have this virus to fear, then why aren't governments rounding up the people who are violating the curfews, violating the lockdown standards, and putting people at risk? I suppose in 14 days after the start of the riots that take place in several metropolitan areas here in the United States, and 14 days from today after people stand in queues, many not maintaining their social distance in South Africa, we will see just how serious this threat is from not maintaining social distance. I believe it's legitimate, but we will see. And of course, these same governors and mayors and national leaders in South Africa will come back and blame the public for this, when it is the government itself that did not enforce its own very own standards, only selectively enforcing it to attack specific targets, specific people at their leisure. Dangerous game, folks, dangerous game. South Africa, the police or the government has released official statistics that indicate that murders are down by 63% since the imposition of the curfew on the 27th of March. Well, that's fantastic. Far fewer people dying. On average, 57 South Africans are murdered each and every day before COVID-19. So if we take out 36 of those murders, which would be 63%, that means that only 19 people per day on average have been dying as a result of murder or unlawful loss of life in South Africa. Tremendous improvement. By comparison, COVID-19, which has now been around for 6 months, South Africa has 34,357 confirmed cases in a population north of 57 million people, with 705 deaths attributed to COVID-19. Now, those deaths all occurred primarily during the lockdown. 705 deaths. But there have been at least 1,273 murders at a rate of 19 per day since 27th of March. That's nearly double as many people murdered. We haven't even talked about HIV, malaria, tuberculosis deaths. Traffic accidents are also down. That's a good thing for South Africa. Here in the U.S., we have 1.8 million confirmed cases with 106,207 deaths attributed to the COVID-19 virus out of a population north of 330 million people. Yet the Centers for Disease Control, the National Institutes for Health, the federal government, state departments of health are strangely silent about how many people have died from influenza, how many have died from cardiac disease, how many have died from type 2 diabetes, from Alzheimer's, and all the leading causes of death in a normal year. We're hearing nothing about that. So I submit to you that we shall see just how serious social distancing is and needs to be within, say, 14 days of the riots starting here in the U.S., and June 14th would be a good marking date for South Africa now that people stand back in line. In South Africa, where you can once again buy alcohol, but only Monday through Thursday, and you can't stockpile it, whatever that means, and you can only do it between the hours of 9 and 5. So South Africans already cannot buy alcohol because it's past 5 o'clock now. It's 5:30. But schools have not reopened because the government, despite having 2 months of time to prepare, woefully prepared, now blames it on teachers when the government itself has failed at the national and the provincial level. Students not back in school, but you can buy alcohol in South Africa. Many millions of Americans remain prisoners in their home under lockdown in states run by governors who are enforcing lockdowns, yet standing silently by, withdrawing their police forces, failing to appropriately or properly use their National Guard for riot control, and allowing people to destroy the cities of America. To what end? To what purpose? It's certainly not to flatten the curve. It's certainly not to contain the spread of COVID-19. So what political purpose is allowing this nonsense to happen, achieving? And there's a question. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel by smashing that subscription button right down. And be sure to toggle the little bell icon to get notified of all updates. Make sure you choose all and live streams and videos that I prepare. And feel free to leave a comment. I'm sure this is a topic that gets a lot of people very angry, upset on both sides of the political spectrum and in the center as well. And also feel free to give it a like. Likes drive video viewing, as the more likes as a percentage of views, the more frequently that this video will appear on other people's channels. I thank you for tuning in, and this has been my question: missing, wanted, where is COVID-19?